So here's 11 ways to keep your athletic edge as you age. So as you age, to keep an athletic edge, we have to think about what we do with our programs and our training. And rather than just say like, hey, just play more sports, it's not as simple as that. So I'm gonna break down 11 different principles to make sure you stay athletic and pain-free as you get older. So one of the main reasons for people to lose athleticism is not to be able to get into the positions that they want. So think about mobility, right? And if you just add it and think about it's better and easier to not lose your mobility as it is to have to regain it. Meaning, just continue to do 5 to 10 minutes a day of soft tissue work, whether it's, again, foam rollers, lacrosse balls, right? Working on things that get tight and wound up and being able to loosen them, tone down those muscles, right? Again, there's different areas that we want to work on: lats, quads, IT band, TFL, back of the shoulder, pecs, right? And just not spending a ton of time, but enough to work on that soft tissue. And then mobility drills. Again, there's a slew of these that we can be doing, but if I call it movement hygiene, where for 5 to 10 minutes a day, even on your non-training days, we're doing mobility drills to preserve the mobility that we have. As we age, we're not going to lose nearly as much of it and maintain it. And again, this can be as simple as picking 5 to 6 exercises and working those exercises every single day. I usually do these in the morning and, of course, before your training session as part of the warm-ups. But if we're doing that, we're going to maintain our mobility and be able to keep the positions that we can get into to stay athletic. Now, number 2 is doing a small amount of training plyos before your session. And what I mean by small amount is like, not, as you're aging, maybe you're not going to be the athlete that's doing, deep drop depth jumps from 30 inches, full-blown sprints, although that's something you can work up to. But having somewhere around, 2 exercises, 2 to 3 sets of things like high knees all out for 8 to 10 seconds, pushing a sled fast, jumping over low hurdles. And again, this might be something that you work up to. It might be lateral slides and shuffles side to side as fast as you can. And again, just micro dosing that into your training program, right? It could be scoop tosses, box jumps. For wherever you are at any fitness level, implementing and maintaining that stretch shortening cycle that we lose as we age is extremely beneficial. So again, even as low as just having a couple of exercises, 2 to 3 sets, 4 sets max, where we're working on speed, power, elasticity, is pretty critical to make sure that you age and keep your athleticism. Number 3 is choosing your KPI lifts carefully, meaning KPI means key performance indicator. So if it's your strength and this is your main strength lift, they don't have to be straight barbell lifts like a straight barbell deadlift or a bench press or a barbell back squat, right? So whereas this is a great lift, it's not going to be the right fit for everybody. And it could be as simple as switching from a straight bar to a trap bar deadlift, where the center of gravity is not as far in front of us. It's a little more joint friendly. It's available to more people. And they can safely push it, and we can then track those KPIs. Another example would be a squat pattern, right? Your KPI doesn't have to be a barbell back squat. It could be a barbell front squat, a safety bar squat, a pendulum squat. Where I can go through the full range of motion and I can push it. It's joint friendly, it's low back friendly, hack squat, belt squat. There's a lot of variations. It could be single leg movements, right? What are the things that we want to get strong at that are pain-free, that we can push on, that transfer over to the things that we want in life? So number 4 is emphasizing exercises that transfer force from lower to upper body. And when you look at programming, everything is not muscle building or strength building. And we want to keep our athleticism. We have to still teach how to transfer that force, which a lot of people lose. So think of a push press, right? Or a landmine push press. But I love cable lifts. Think about this row where we're going to go from essentially a lunge forward position and then we're gonna step back and transfer that force, right? So I'm in my front leg. From here, I'm turning, shifting to the back leg. So I'm now transferring that force and learning also to add rotation in. Now these exercises, again, they're not gonna be your KPI lifts, but you are gonna plug them in into that supplemental accessory portion of your training program. All right, number 5 is like emphasizing ground to standing transitions. Again, this is another one where, somebody might look at a program and say like, well, how's this gonna, build muscle or strength or whatever it may be. But we have to understand that as we age, part of athleticism is being able to get up from the floor, in different positions, because as people lose the ability to do that, right? Whether it's rolling up, standing up, I would say kneeling up. And so one of the most known, I would say, exercises that we can plug into this is the Turkish get up, right? So you've probably seen me do this before. You've probably seen it a lot. We teach it, again, driving through. It's a lot of things that are happening here, right? Where I need thoracic mobility, I need hip mobility, I need shoulder stability, I need core strength. Right, and we'll, again, teach people how to do these. But there's also other exercises that we can do, and one that I like, 2 different ones that I like, going from tall kneeling to standing, and I'll show a harder variation of this, which is staying overhead already. Here, rib cage down, knocking out, and try not to compensate with swinging that leg around, going straight down and the other side, alternate. And if a person can't go overhead yet, we can stay in this, I would say, rack position as well. We can offset it. So there's a lot of different things that we can do. Now, you might ask yourself, where does this play? We'll put this variation after our dynamic warm-ups and before we do our plyometrics, speed, power training. Again, even just a couple of sets of this, doing it 2-3 times a week, different variations, can be very helpful to maintain that ground to standing ability and to maintain athleticism as we age. Get strong on single leg exercises. Now, I've been saying this for forever. If I had to pick, I would pick just getting stronger on single leg exercises. I don't think you have to pick and choose because, hey, deadlifts, squats, they'll get you strong. And finding that right choice of KPI, like I talked about before, is important. But most athletic things happen on one leg, right? So think of things like single leg RDLs and finding that right variation for you. Whether it's Bulgarian split squats, static lunges, and again, different positions, different tools, right? There's using different planes of motion. So for example, going into our, say, frontal plane, right? And making sure that we use a different variety, different planes of motion, but get very, very strong in single leg exercises. They're also, most of the time, more friendly on the joints because we're using less load on the spine, but the same or more load on the actual leg. So again, what I found is not eliminating bilateral exercises, but reducing them, adding in more single leg work as we age to keep our athleticism is a great principle to use. Number 7 is teaching the core to resist extension and rotation, right? So what we want to do is make sure we're moving at the right parts. So when I'm doing things like an ab rollout, I'm moving from the hips, but my back is not extending, right? I'm keeping that rib cage, that canister down, and resisting extension. Another exercise that kind of does both here too, imagine a plank position where I'm keeping that core nice and tight, and then I'm reaching out and I'm preventing extension and rotation. In a scenario of keeping the hips stable, we might be doing a chop with a wide stance where I want this part, my low back, to be stable as my upper back, thoracic spine, can move a little bit, right? So again, belly button, rib cage down, canister closed. So we're preventing our low back from rotating while we're having thoracic rotation. Now this is key because, again, as we age and we lose core strength and hip mobility, we start moving in the wrong places and get too much of that extension and rotation in our low back, which is why we kind of get an angry low back, and it's not helping us with our performance and increases the chances of nagging aches and pains. Training outside of the sagittal plane. So sagittal plane, think forward, backward, think side to side and transverse, because in sports, you're gonna boom, cut, turn, move in every different direction. And so we wanna strengthen those muscles, and I would say clean up those movements, be good, have mobility, stability, strengthen those movements to be able to go in every different direction, right? So this might be a side lunge with a glider, right? Perfect example. Working that sagittal plane. It could be a Cossack squat, goblet position once somebody's ready for it. But again, including those movements in a program makes the program more complete, more built for athleticism as we age. Throw the crap out of medicine balls. And the thing is, with this, is like, I love it for athletes, right? Rotational athletes, athletes of any kind, because again, rotation and power are going to go together, but it's also one of the things we lose the fastest is not just power, but rotational power. So throwing med balls, and you want to go with lighter ones. I think one of the biggest mistakes is when you start throwing like heavier, 10 plus pound med balls. We keep it somewhere between 4 and 8, 10 maybe, but you can start as simple as this, and it's like available to almost anybody, like split stance. And it's also going to train internal rotation at the hip, where we're standing by the wall. By the way, clients love to throw the shit out of med balls, right? It's like stress relieving as well. But then we can go into, again, stomps to then becoming more dynamic. And again, we'd progress this with a beginner. It could be as simple as standing here, throwing, again, creating some power from chest, but it can get to more dynamic, or even, right? And the thing is, think about doing it simple. 2 to 3 sets of a slam, 2 to 3 sets of a rotational throw, and just, again, regressing it or progressing it to the person's ability. Great thing is, we're working on power. We can do it more often because using med balls slows us down a little bit, but we're still training these components that we lose with time, right? This transfer is great if a lot of people now that play pickleball, tennis, all of these different things, you're going to maintain these abilities, and they're very, very fun to put into training. We'll usually put them after dynamic warm-ups, med ball throws, and then we'll go into the rest of the training afterwards. So number 10 is moving fast on the concentric, right, coming up portion of the lift, as well as moving fast and slowing down the eccentric. Right, I'll show you a couple of different variations of that. But again, most of the time when people lift in the gym, everything tends to be like time and attention, lift as heavy as you can. But then we're losing that ability and not working on moving fast, moving lighter weights fast, moving our own bodies fast. So an example would be taking somewhere 40 to 75% of your max rep on a squat, controlling down and moving up very, very fast, right? We're rate of force development. So for example, we're now controlled. So again, maintaining those abilities of speed, which we lose over time. And because most people use the weight room to basically get all the activity that they have in a week, it means that we can implement this. And one of the days can be moving a bar fast rather than just moving a heavy load. The other part is decelerating. So drills where we have to stop fast. An example would be where we're doing a decel drop in a lunge. So hopping, drop, drop. So fast drop. We can even add a load here, quick drop, right? It could be as simple as at the beginning, decelerating our movement. Again, these are things that we're going to use in sports, right? Where we have to explode out, accelerate out, or we have to put on the brakes. And it's things that we can implement into our training. Again, whether it's our lifts or plyometric deceleration exercises after our dynamic warm-ups. Now, number 11 is play, have fun, do athletic things. And the reality is that sometimes we're going to work up to it. You know, in my free time, I still play basketball. I still do stuff with my athletes. You know, think about things like playing pickleball, but you don't want to just jump the gun and go from nothing to something. And inside of the facility, this is something that we put under athleticism terms, is like playing games, having fun. And I'll show a couple of variations here. So imagine that I'm with a client and I'm going to have them go lateral slides and pick up those cones. And then I'm going to clap at the end and have them sprint. So this might look like I'm here, I'll say go, clap, I'm sprinting out, right? And now we're having fun. Also, having two people in a crawl position, tapping their shoulders. So imagine somebody's facing me in a crawl position and I'm moving around, trying to tap their shoulders, tap, tap, or even in a crab walk position, trying to touch their feet. And these are just a couple of examples where we can make things controlled, constrained, athletic, and of course, doing things outside of the gym that are athletic will help you maintain your athleticism, but keeping these 11 principles will make sure you never lose it and you can continue to build on it. Meaning you stay athletic, stay pain-free, allows you to do as many things in life as possible. So to get more tips like this, to look, feel, perform more like an athlete without the nagging aches and pains, make sure to subscribe to this channel.